Good morning, everyone. Lovely to have you all with us today. My name's Nikki Patterson and I am Business Solutions Manager for Tourism Northern Ireland, and welcome so much today to this introduction and training webinar ahead of Meet the Buyer 2024. So I suppose today really is just about helping you to get the most out of the event. We're absolutely delighted that this year the event has increased to a day and a half, and Julie will take you through that in a bit further detail. But I suppose from our point of view, we just wanted to highlight really the reason that we're doing this for a day and a half is to meet demand from international tour operators. We really have. They've asked us to make that possible and for our industry and really to spend more time with them. So we hope that you can all make the most of that and take that up. So we're going to be hearing shortly from Julie O'Brien, which most of you will be familiar with, from Runda, Tourism and Hospitality Solutions, a real expert with experience right across the the international travel trade and MICE sector. Working with tour operators, DMCs in-house, and now she is a consultant, but Julie will tell you a bit more about herself in a moment. But quickly, I'm going to give you a very few pointers on this year's Meet the Buyer. So in terms of the event itself, it is run by the Business Solutions team, and within our team there is myself, Gwen Beveridge, Aoife Walsh, Conor Carberry, Don Corrigan, who leads out on Meet the Buyer, Maureen Doer, who is our Business Tourism SO, and then we've got Heather Gibson and Gillian Hunter, who support Don and Meet the Buyer as well. So really our role in Business Solutions is to support our industry to connect with international operators across leisure and MICE. So we've got 3 weeks to go and a few points to remember. The appointment scheduling is currently live. You've got 3 days to accept or decline your meeting requests. Well, at the moment there's 3,500 appointments accepted to date, but we are expecting that there's around 5,000 one-to-one meetings are going to take place by the end of the event, which is incredible. The cap on the number of meetings will be lifted today, and just a reminder to finalise your schedules. So on the day, we'd ask you to arrive in good time. There's a lot of people making their way there, so just make sure you give yourself plenty of time. There'll be tea and coffee whenever you get there, so you can have some of that before you kick off the day. Meet all of your pre-scheduled appointments, and if for some reason you can't, please let them know that you'll not be able to make it. Ensure your meetings keep to time and don't run over. Barry and our team will help you with that, because he'll be ringing the bell or the buzzer and letting everybody know that it's complete and you need to move on to your next appointment. And use the break time and lunch times to meet with other buyers that you don't have in your appointment schedule. Finally, our networking dinner is an excellent opportunity for you to expand your contacts and spend some free time and leisure time with the operators. Just to give you a roundup then of some of the stats from Meet the Buyer 2023. So 50% said realistically they expected to do business with 6 or more operators that they met. Sorry, this is industry feedback. 92% of the industry rated the event good or very good. 92% said participation in the workshop would benefit their business in the recovery process and beyond. And 97% said they would attend the event in 2024. And our operators' top 3 objectives, which we don't expect will have changed much this year, 92% of them were to meet with existing suppliers for product and pricing update. 92% were to meet with new suppliers, and 84% was to extend existing programs or gathering information to help with planning. So again, Julie will touch on some of that a bit further, but that gives you really good insights into how to prepare for your meetings. So we have prepared some support resources for Meet the Buyer 2024. So we've got the Tourism NI content pool. So that's where you can go online to our content pool and access photographs and images that you can use in your presentations. You've also got the Discover NI YouTube channel where you can gather videos and content to run on your presentations. You can update your market profiles on tourismireland.com. You can go to Research and Insights on tourismni.com, which gives you some really good insights and information really for how you approach your meetings and discuss things with your operators. Links to previous webinars are on tourismni.com, and if you want to stay up to date with international B2B market opportunities, just go online as well to tourismni.com. You can go to the Business Solutions page and that will give you all the forthcoming international platforms. Some of you will already be using our social media assets, and we encourage you to do so. There is assets for Twitter, LinkedIn, and your email signature. So we've seen a lot of those about to date. And I'm now going to hand you over to Julie for the detailed part. Thanks, Julie.
Oh, Nikki, thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who's joined the session this morning. So I think Nikki made it really clear that there's a massive opportunity available to all of you individually and collectively and across Destination Northern Ireland via Meet the Buyer for 2024. So the purpose of the next part of the session that I will take you through is to enable you to maximise the opportunity. So here we are. The topic we're going to look at this morning through this webinar is maximising opportunities via Meet the Buyer 2024. And of course, this is an industry briefing session. I'll be with you for about an hour. And as Nikki mentioned earlier, we'll be taking some questions at the end. I have worked in tourism and hospitality now for more than 30 years. I began my career as a professional travel buyer, and I've also worked in diverse kinds of tourism businesses. So I'm really looking forward to bringing you into the mindset of the buyer this morning so that you will more easily navigate this landscape to maximise opportunities for yourself and Destination Northern Ireland. So after this session, you will understand how to research professional travel buyers to maximise opportunities. You will understand how to craft a targeted B2B presentation, in other words, a presentation that suits the needs of professional travel buyers, and a verbal pitch to maximise opportunities. You will understand how to follow up with professional travel buyers to maximise opportunities, and you will gain insights into what to watch out for example, when negotiating with professional travel buyers, just some pointers there, and pricing and contracting with professional travel buyers. So an overview of the content we're going to cover. We have an awful lot to get through over the next 50 minutes or so. First of all, we'll start taking a look at some tips and insights to help you maximise opportunities. Note I keep repeating maximise opportunities because when you attend Meet the Buyer, you'll be giving up your time. And of course, we want to make sure that you get the best return for that time. So that's really important. Number two, we'll move on to the jargon. So if you understand the jargon connected with this world, this is really helpful to help you clarify the opportunity. Number three, we'll look at how to craft your B2B presentation. Number four, how to craft your B2B verbal pitch. Number five, how to follow up. Number six, negotiation, just a little insight there on what you need to be aware of. And similarly for pricing and contracting, what you need to be aware of. We'll wrap up with some questions, so please make sure to send those in. So that's it, my friends. We're going to get going now through that content over the next 45 minutes or so. Now, as I said there earlier, our first topic that we said we'd look at this morning is an overview of tips and insights to help you maximise opportunities. Now, you're all aware of the logistics for Meet the Buyer, and Nikki highlighted some of those this morning. And of course, you've received some support information as well to help you in that regard. I would strongly suggest that you carefully read that information because what you want to do is arrive at Meet the Buyer feeling comfortable. So you're not flapping about any logistical details, you already know these. Day one of Meet the Buyer, which takes place on Tuesday, the 9th of April, appointments will start at 9 a.m. and end at 4:30 p.m. Day two will begin at 9 a.m. and end at 12 noon. And you will have 15 minutes for each appointment. So these are really important things to know. And it's within this time frame that we will construct our B2B presentation and our verbal pitch. It is really important, so step one, be really aware of the logistics, know the practicalities that you need to be aware of for the day so that you arrive comfortable, and with your house in order. I would say your next step is that you do really strong research. So really interesting to hear Nikki say this morning that already over 3,500 appointments have been established via the appointment booking system for Meet the Buyer. So when we're in this system, our success depends on strong research. We're talking about maximizing opportunities here. So when we're in the appointment booking system, so Converve, we can see that there are lots of different buyer profiles. And our job is to go through those profiles and find out the buyers who are the best match for our business. I love this functionality that I've highlighted here on the screen before you called Show Only My Match. So this will bring up profiles that read as a direct match for my own business profile. So that can be a good way of fielding through the leads to reduce the number of buyers that perhaps you should be researching. When you go into the system, of course, there are lots of different buyers, and all of these buyers are different. Each one is unique. They have different kind of customer types and different kind of markets. So it's your job to really research those buyers. And ultimately, it's like a game of Snap. We're trying to figure out, what does your business offer? What does the buyer need? And is there a meeting of minds? Is there an opportunity for a mutually beneficial partnership? It is really important when you're doing your research that you carefully read the buyer's profile to establish what they're interested in. And if the buyer's profile isn't so well done or doesn't give you a lot of information within the system, then take a look elsewhere, maybe ask colleagues in the industry or take a look online to see if you can find out more information about the buyer. We're really trying to establish if they're a match for what you offer. So it's really important to reiterate that point that each professional travel buyer is unique. Each one can offer its own set of opportunities. For example, they could engage in leisure and/or business tourism. They could engage in individuals and/or ad hoc groups, tour series, for example. Each one will engage in diverse markets, diverse global markets. And each one will offer you a diverse opportunity. So what you're looking for is a synergy. Is there an opportunity here for a mutually beneficial partnership? And that is the purpose of the research. So ultimately, as I said a moment ago, it's a bit like a game of Snap. It's all about matching. We're looking to match your business offering to what the professional travel buyer, who ultimately will become your partner if there is a match, requires. And therefore, you need to know something about that buyer before you even begin to engage in conversation with them. So I would urge you, number one, wrap your head around the logistics, so that you can arrive calm and to meet the buyer ready to maximize opportunities. Number two, please do your research so you understand, firstly, based on what you've read, that the buyer is a match for your requirements, and also you're ready then to have a meaningful conversation with a professional travel buyer once you meet them. Success depends on strong preparation. This is really important. So when we prepare for Meet the Buyer, the urgent pieces, the first priority pieces that we need to prepare are number one, our presentation. Number two, our verbal pitch. What are we going to say? And number three, our follow-up. We need to think about how we're going to manage this. These are our top 3 items that we need to prepare to maximize opportunities. Our second priority items that we will need to think about afterwards are nurturing skills. I've met someone, for example, and there's a good opportunity for a partnership here. Now, how do I nurture this relationship so that I can bring, the person I've met, that lead, if you like, to a conversion, to a booking? How do I nurture the relationship? I may also, depending on how the partnership evolves, need to master negotiation skills and pricing and contracting. Note how I've said for Meet the Buyer, mastering your verbal pitch, your presentation, and your follow-up are the key priorities. Once we have this in order, we then think about afterwards how we could nurture those relationships so that ultimately the buyer ends up making a booking if there's an opportunity. And also I may need to think about negotiation skills, pricing, and contracting. So be aware of our priorities. I'll be showing you in a little while how to some tips for building your presentation and your verbal pitch. But before we go there, I want to make sure that everyone listening today is aware of the jargon that relates to the world of B2B, so professional travel buyers. This is really important so that you can conduct yourself with confidence and clarify the opportunity that is available to you. So really importantly, Meet the Buyer is primarily a leisure tourism trade event. In other words, the vast majority, probably all of the buyers who attend, will be looking after the needs of customers who come to this part of the world for holidays. In this landscape, we have diverse kinds of leisure tourism professional travel buyers. For example, we can have a tour operator. A tour operator means the professional travel buyer manages the needs of holiday makers from the global marketplace coming to Ireland. So these holiday makers, of course, could be traveling for lots of different reasons. They could be individuals or groups. The other word we need to be aware of is DMC. It stands for Destination Management Company. A professional travel buyer that calls themselves a DMC could equally be looking after the needs of international customers looking to come here on their holidays. A wholesaler is another word for a professional travel buyer. And like a wholesaler in any other industry, this tends to be a buyer who buys in a lot of quantity. In other words, maybe they sell a lot of rooms in Ireland. They have customers who are particularly interested in Ireland. So they will be looking for a lot of quantity, and that is something that you need to be aware of. An OTA is short for online travel agent, and you'll be aware of these. We have the likes of Booking.com and Expedia, but of course, specifically for activities and experiences, we have, for example, Viator, Tickets, Get Your Guide. Particularly across the tour operator, DMC and wholesaler, these customers, these professional travel buyers tend to look after the following customers. The first customer type is called an FIT, fully independent traveller. This tends to refer to the individual customer. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's just one customer. It could mean that there are 2 or 3. There could even be little family groups that have come together to create almost like a little group of 12 or 16. But it tends to focus on the individual. So one or small groups, very small groups of people, or maybe family groups. Then we have the ad hoc group. So an ad hoc group is exactly like that. We're currently in March. Maybe I ask you for an inquiry for me for 20 people. So it's just an ad hoc request for somebody coming on their holidays. I could have a special interest group. For example, maybe I'm an historian and I do beautiful experiences that relate to that. And therefore, I'm particularly interested in buyers and visitors that have an interest in history. And of course, the likes of tour operators might also look after tour series. So these are repeated groups over multiple dates. So again, if we look at the different professional travel buyers, you'll be able to think, I know who they are, and I can start to understand which ones are a match for me. I also understand the diverse kind of customers they have, and I can begin to figure out, if any particular one of these customer types is a match for me. Each one of these professional travel buyers deals with customers from the international marketplace, and these customers can have diverse needs. They could, for example, want a package experience, something like a tour series, or a bespoke experience, something that's handwritten to meet their exact needs. They could have diverse budgets from low to medium to high to really high luxury. Their customers could have diverse interests, and they will have diverse needs and nuances. So of course we know this. If we come from the international marketplace, there could be just some traits that define the kind of things we like, or maybe the time of day that we like to have our meals when we come from these marketplaces. So this is all the stuff that's going around in the buyer's head, and they're trying to figure out if what you offer is meeting their needs. So we'll just do a quick look now at business tourism, because some of the buyers that you meet could potentially also be engaging in business tourism. So clearly in business tourism, we're talking about the corporate traveler. So in this case, the professional travel buyer looks after the needs of, for example, a corporate company or a corporate delegate. Again, if you hear the word DMC, this could potentially mean destination management company that the professional travel buyer engages in business tourism. PCO stands for Professional Conference Organizer, and Venue Finder is a professional travel buyer that looks for venues or accommodation or experiences that match the needs of their customers. In this case, the kind of opportunities you can get are different, so described as MICE, and you'll notice that Nikki referred to that earlier, meetings, conferences, incentives, and events. So incentives are motivational travel, inspirational experiences. These buyers look after a lot of the needs of international customers. Occasionally, they may also look after domestic customers. And they're really listening for experiences that are inspirational. Also, practical needs are required. For example, if I have a space that can welcome a dinner or a conference that can welcome a conference room that can welcome a meeting, I need to be able to tell them the capacity of those spaces. And again, they will be looking after customers who have diverse interests, needs, and nuances. And this is what you need to be aware of. So step one in your research then, you might think, does the buyer solely look after leisure tourism, or is there a business tourism opportunity as well? Do I understand who the buyer is, what kind of customer types that they look after, and therefore what kind of opportunities are available to my business? And really importantly, am I a match for those opportunities? I don't go after something that I'm not a match for. And with that in mind then, I would like to draw your attention to understanding the opportunity and the context. So it's really important that we do our research so that we say the right things. So for example, if I were to find myself at the Meet the Buyer, and I'm sitting across the table from a buyer, and I say something like, I'd love if we could look after your tourist series, and this particular travel buyer is thinking, what, I don't even do tour series, then the buyer is unlikely to say anything, but that will totally disrupt an opportunity for you to do business. So you really need to have self-awareness and have done the research so that you can conduct a meaningful conversation. Similarly, you could, for example, with a particular professional travel buyer, emphasize, I don't know, for example, a self-guided tour. But maybe this buyer looks for something that's really rare or something that's really unique. And they're thinking, but they're talking about something that's not a match for my needs. We only book, for example, I don't know, high-end luxury experiences. So we've made the case now that diverse buyers have diverse needs, diverse expectations, and through research, you need to field through the information to figure out what the kind of things that they're looking for. Is there a match for you? And then to present the offerings to them that are likely to be of the greatest interest to them. And we're going to do this through a really nice conversation. So now we've done our research, we understand the opportunity that's available to us. If it were me, I would be carefully going through each buyer profile and I would be noting the markets or the particular customers that they look after, figuring out if I've got the whole piece of information I need to have a really good conversation with them. And I would take those summary notes with me to meet the buyer so that every time a new buyer arrives for a new appointment, I'm ready to have that conversation with them and I'm not relying upon my memory because on the day there's already a lot going on. So now, my friends, we're going to look at how to craft your B2B presentation. When you're at Meet the Buyer 2024, I want you to be aware that you will be seated and the buyer will be coming towards you. So you'll be able to have everything you need at your table. Because Meet the Buyer is a face-to-face presentation format, you can choose the kind of presentation that best suits your needs, whatever makes you feel more comfortable. So some businesses do choose to use a PowerPoint presentation, which they may use through a laptop, for example, or an iPad, and lots of people feel comfortable with that. Other people don't. So some people choose to maybe print really good physical images and they'll walk the buyer through those images, and that can work perfectly fine too. I've also seen businesses create a beautiful album or a storybook, not too long, but with brilliantly done pictures, and they'll almost walk the buyer through a story, walk them through the offering, and that can work really well too. So I suppose when you're making the decision about what format to use, it's good to think about how comfortable do you feel with technology and with moving the information through as you're liaising with the buyer. And so a bit like driving a car, I would suggest that you practice that, figure out, the presentation model that you want to use, and then literally work with it so that you can decide what makes you feel more comfortable. Ultimately, the buyer will not mind whether it's a PowerPoint or, for example, a storybook or images once you connect with them and enlighten them about your offering. For all presentations, I would suggest that you need to prepare at least 8 to 10 really strong images. Please make sure that they present your business offering and what you do in the best possible light, and please make sure that they're of the best possible quality, i.e. that they're not pixelated. If you're using a video, please use it with care and please do source a really good map. So I'll walk you through those points now. So I said there earlier, ideally select about 8 to 10 images. And when we use these images, bear in mind I'll be speaking verbally, drawing the buyer in by looking at the visuals. Make sure that through the visuals, the buyer feels enlightened, engaged, they're connecting with the buyer, delighted. This is making them feel, this is amazing. And connected, that it connects with you. So drawing them into the story. So for example, if I'm a guide and I do guiding experiences in stunning landscape, by all means include images of those landscape, but please also show an image of you in the landscape engaging with customers so they get the sense of what the experience is about. So choosing imagery for your presentation is really key. These are just some other examples. This is Tracy Jeffrey here. The one I showed you a moment ago was from Neary Nog's Chocolate. And again, we want to make sure that we enlighten, engage, delight, and connect. I'll show you one final example. Look at this fisherman. There's literally a story etched on his face. This is the kind of image that would really draw the buyer in. It's visually very impactful. So imagine if that were the size of my whole screen and you're literally drawn into the face of that fisherman. Again, all the time we're choosing imagery to enlighten, engage, delight, and connect. So I would suggest that you go through all of your imagery and you whittle it down to the 8 or 10 images that are absolutely the best. And of course, deciding on your presentation format and how you're going to integrate those in then. Important to say that you can rely upon your own images, but if you need to supplement these images, and Nikki again mentioned this earlier, with additional images, you should definitely sign up for this free service, Northern Ireland's Content Pool, where you can download images in JPEG or PNG format, which you can integrate into your presentation. So a really, really useful tool. And you can search under diverse names and locations there. Really important when we prepare a video. So of course, if we're using maybe a PowerPoint presentation, we have the opportunity to include a video. It's not obligatory. It totally depends on whether it's adding value to your presentation or otherwise. I would suggest that if you're using a video, try and keep it short, no more than 30 minutes. Please, when you're doing a video, do not press play and then suddenly turn the back of your head to the buyer, because you will be breaking the connection. So if you are using the video, use it as an opportunity to talk the buyer through the context. So do you see when we walk through here and you're literally showing them the visuals and making them understand the experience via the video, rather than pressing play and leaving the video do all of the work. You are at the center of everything. It is your responsibility to maintain that connection. And as I said there, make sure you maintain a close connection in terms of what you're saying and in terms of your eye contact with the buyer. Please ensure, as I said earlier, that the video adds value, and please make sure that the technology works so that the video is working for you. And if it doesn't, don't worry about it. Just talk the buyer through and move on to the next part of your presentation. But ideally, you just make sure it's in working order. It's really important in your presentation that you include a map. So I would suggest that you get a map of Ireland, and then you can pinpoint exactly where you're located in Northern Ireland on that map. So we get a map of Ireland so that there's an understanding of where you're located, and then you might get a close-up map showing exactly where you're located. So for example, we might choose a map like this, and I might be explaining to the buyer in the middle of the presentation that I am located, for example, in Ballygawley in Clogher Valley in mid-Ulster. And immediately now the buyer has a sense of where I'm located in Ireland, and they'll feel grounded. That's a really important thing. The map plays a really important function. So please make sure and do a really strong job on that point. In your presentation, you need to include contact details and branding, so business and destination branding. Here's an example here from Glenshane Country Farm. So I've just taken a picture here, and you can see that Glenshane Country Farm's business brand is here. We can see the Northern Ireland Embrace a Giant Spirit brand here. I've got a telephone number, email, and website, which I can include in my first and my last slide. Really importantly, we're dealing in the global marketplace here. So when including a telephone number, please make sure you've included the international prefix. Okay. You can make sure to have that across all your slides, but I would suggest that even if it's on the first and the last one, that will be sufficient for the buyer to know how to contact you. So at the very least, put it at the first and the last slide. Notice how there's no other wording here. We're not making this slide heavy with text. We're allowing the imagery to do the talking along with what we're going to say verbally. Pitfalls to watch out for when we're creating our verbal our presentations. We want to make sure that we avoid text-heavy presentations. They are visibly difficult to read. Of course, we don't want to have badly formatted presentations, so please spell check, make sure everything is in order. We want everything to create a positive reflection on you and on destination Northern Ireland and on your local community. Another pitfall to avoid is not researching and knowing how to adapt. So maybe, a buyer sits in front of me and tells me they're interested in something else, something I hadn't foreseen. That means I might need to adapt my presentation or adapt what I'm saying verbally to meet that need. Really important that we align what we say verbally with what we show visually, and that requires practice. And I'm going to show you how to do that practice now. So remember what we've taken you through this morning. We've looked at logistics, we looked at research. You now all have a handle on the jargon to understand the opportunity. We've looked at how to construct your B2B presentation. And now we're going to look at how to craft our B2B verbal pitch, and clearly this needs to align with the presentation. So let's take a look at this now. Before I give you any tips at all, I really want you to understand that you are key. When you're at Meet the Buyer, when you're engaging with a professional travel buyer, you are at the center of everything. And that's a really good thing to know, because the power is literally in your hands. When the buyer is listening to you, you need to know that you are the key to your own success. The buyer will view that you reflect everything. So everything you say, how you behave, how you engage will reflect you and your team, if there is one, and your community and destination, Northern Ireland. So please be aware of this. And I would suggest that the tone you need to achieve thereby is professional and friendly. No need to be anxious. You're just engaging in a conversation. So professional and friendly is the ideal tone that we should all aspire to. All, of course, marked with our own unique identity, our own unique personalities. So as you deliver your presentation, be mindful that without even realizing it, the buyer is mentally assessing, are you easy to work with? Are you reliable? Is what you have to offer, for example, your experience or your bedrooms, can I see them? Can I see them, really importantly? And are they a match for the customers and markets I look after? So this is what they're mentally assessing. And this is ultimately the judgment call that the buyer is making. And of course, both of you are making a judgment call because you're also trying to assess, is this buyer a match for what I do? So when we're delivering our pitch, both in terms of the presentation and what we say verbally, we need to be aware of the importance of harmonization. So verbally, what I say, all the words I choose, these need to enlighten the buyer. So I don't just say any old words, I carefully think about them so that the buyer is fully aware of what I offer and they feel delighted and connected with this. And they can clearly see whether it's a match for their customers and markets and otherwise. I'm also going to be aware of non-verbal communications. How am I presenting myself physically? Tone of voice is very important. So can they understand what I'm saying? Is it easy to understand what I'm saying? Is it compelling? Am I bringing them into the story? And my body language, of course, is key. I shouldn't be sitting there hunched up or with my arms folded. I'm trying to have a professional, friendly conversation here. So in how I'm presenting myself physically, that should be clear. And of course, we also have our visuals, so referring back to the presentation we just showed there a moment ago. So our images, our video, or any marketing material, or maybe props, maybe I'm a jewelry maker, and therefore I'm showing the buyer some of the tools and some of the outcomes of my work that they can physically touch these. So what are the visual cues that I'm giving that the buyer understands? So the verbal, non-verbal, and visual, these all work together so that the buyer is enlightened and delighted and understands if what we offer is a match for their needs. So I need to put it back to you that it's all about the power of you. You deliver strong communications, and that's more likely to lead you to conversion. And when I say a conversion, I mean a booking. So every buyer you meet, it's like a lead, it's an opportunity, and you're trying to maximize those leads, to see how many of those you can achieve a booking from in the near future, or potentially, depending on how things evolve, in the distant future via that travel buyer. But if you turn up to meet the buyer, I'm asking you please to maximize the opportunity, because you'll have given up your time and a lot of organization goes into this event. So when you show up, make sure and try and get the best aim and prepare to get the best return for it. So now I'm going to take you through some steps to help you prepare your verbal pitch. So you've seen it, rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. I've been doing this a really long time, and I wouldn't show up at Meet the Buyer unless I had prepared earlier, even after all the years, I've been doing this and working in the industry. So I said there earlier, you're going to get 15 minutes for an appointment. I would suggest that you construct your pitch so it lasts around maybe 8 minutes. And that way you'll have lots of time for conversation and backwards and forward, and anything to clarify any questions that the buyer may have. I would also suggest, this is just me, I like to practice aloud. So I'd literally be sitting there, in the comfort of my home or my office. I'd work on my presentation and I'd listen to myself saying the words to make sure it's fluid. I'd also make sure that the language I'm using is comfortable for me. In other words, I'm not using words that somebody else might use, but just language that I feel comfortable with. And I would constantly refine that wording until I have it really in order. So I'm going to arrive really comfortable then at Meet the Buyer. I will also be aware of the kind of words I want the buyer to understand, of the kind of things I want them to be aware of, and I'll make sure to plan those words so that I drip feed these into conversation with the buyer. You'll notice my next point there, check positioning. So am I, engaging directly with the buyer? Is there eye contact? Am I mindful of that, of how I'm engaging? And I will think about that, as I say, within the comfort of my home and office. So by the time I've arrived, these are not things I even have to think about at all. I am really well prepared. If I am using technology, I'll make sure that that's in order and all working and I feel comfortable with it. If I'm using props, for example, like, tools to show jewelry making, again, I'll make sure I'm comfortable. I'll move through how I might show these to the buyer so that I can, feel comfortable on the day and maximize the opportunity. If I've prepared in this way, then something is going to happen at Meet the Buyer. Someone's going to ask you a question, or someone's going to ask for something, or ask for an insight that you literally haven't thought about. And that's totally fine. But if you've prepared these points that we're showing you this morning, you will be more easily able to deal with those curveballs. I would like you to remember this little equation, and that's clarity plus connection equals conversion. If I'm really clear on what my business is about and I'm expressing that clearly, I establish a connection with the buyer through a professional and friendly conversation. This is more likely to lead me to a conversion, i.e. to a booking or a request opportunity. So let's look now at how you might build your verbal pitch. And you'll see that I've got some tips here. So I really like to think about this a bit like a dance. So I'm thinking about it like a waltz this morning, and you need to be aware the power is your hands, you take the lead. So number one, take the lead. Number two, know that it's your job to enlighten and delight. You establish, you ignite that connection with the buyer, you enlighten and delight them. You need to determine if there's a match. Remember our game of snap earlier. You need to clarify the opportunity, and you need to establish a mechanism for follow-up. I'm going to walk you through this in a moment. So think about it like a dance. And when you're planning your presentation, the words you're going to align with this, think about the steps that you're going to use. So I'm going to suggest some of these steps now, and we're going to walk through them. The first one is that you begin with a warm welcome. The second one is that you demonstrate your research. The third one is that you route the buyer. So this is where the map comes in. The fourth one, you set out your stall, i.e. the buyer is clearly aware of the product or the experiences or the services that you're selling. Remember, you're there to promote and sell. The buyer is there to purchase, so you must do that. You must be aware of what the opportunity is. Is it yes, no, or maybe? Is there potential for a partner to peer or otherwise? And you must establish the opportunity to follow up. So let's walk through those 6 steps now in the waltz that I've constructed. I'm aware and you're aware now that at Meet the Buyer, you'll be seated. Therefore, think about the buyer walking to you. How are you going to make them start this on a really positive note by making them feel comfortable from the outset? So for me, I'd be standing up, ready with a smile to welcome them to my little home, which is at my table. And I put in some suggested words here. So maybe you could follow this and adopt your own. So I might say something like, hello, my name is, I represent whatever my business is. I've been so looking forward to meeting you today. Listen to the tone. Can I just ask, are you familiar with what we do? Are you familiar with our business? That's a really good opening question because you're bringing the buyer into conversation, and you can also gauge their level of knowledge of what they do. So they might say, oh no, I don't know it at all. Oh, or I heard about it from someone else. And then that will start everything. It'll settle everyone, and you're just going to have a nice conversation. And then you might provide an insight into what you offer. Step 2, demonstrate your research. So again, I've just put an example here. For example, I was reading up about your company and learned that you work a lot with the French market. I was very interested to see that, as we have a lot of French customers. In fact, we recently had a group from Lyon and they loved our experience because, you see, so immediately you're showing the buyer that you know how to look after their marketplace, and you're kind of establishing a little connection, a point of understanding. I just dropped in the bottom, maybe in terms of your research, you want to show that you are a sustainable or a business that champions sustainability or regenerative tourism practices. So again, I'll ask you to read that in your own time, but maybe you'll have read the profile and understand that this is integral to how the buyer does business too. So it will be really important for you to show that this is integral to your offering as well. And I would suggest that you raise your sustainability, your sustainable and regenerative tourism ethos and approaches in all conversations with buyers, whether that's expressed in their profile or otherwise. Step 3, route the buyer. So we mentioned there earlier that you need a really good map. And then you would be showing the buyer your map. And remember, we said you might have a main map that shows your location in Ireland, and then a pinpointed map that shows exactly where you're located in Ireland. So you might begin by, let me show you where we're located. We're in a small rural village on the northeastern coast. It's a really special place with a close-knit, a really friendly community. And I'm so lucky to live in a beautiful place overlooking whatever river. So you'll be able to refine this for your own needs. Then maybe I might say something like, we're located just about a 40-minute drive from Belfast Airport, and we are so proud to be part of Northern Ireland's Embrace a Giant Spirit brand. So just be aware that if you are presenting yourself positively and with a passion, that you will ignite that within the buyer too. So you're representing not just yourself, but your local community, your wider destination, and the whole of destination Northern Ireland. So of course we want the buyers to feel engaged with that. And please be aware of your role in that regard. Again, for you to explore later, I've just popped in a local insight here. It can be a really nice idea to give the buyer an insight into something locally, maybe someplace, a hidden gem that you like, or a place that you like to visit, or a place you like to have a picnic, and maybe a little insight that might benefit the buyer and their customers. And it shows then how you champion local and your local community. So you might consider a little insight in that regard too. Step 4, please set out your stall. In other words, make the buyers aware of what you are there to promote and sell. So you could say something like, let me tell you a little bit more about our experiences. We have 3 in total. The first is, you give a succinct insight. The second is a succinct, notice the emphasis on succinct insight. And the third is a succinct insight. I know you are specifically interested in unique experiences from having read your profile. So let me give you a deeper insight into whatever it is, experience 3. So in some cases, we will not be explaining all of our experiences. It may be useful just to give an overview and to drill down into one that you know specifically meets the needs of that professional travel buyer. And you could ask them, listen, we've got 3 experiences here, or look, we've got 10 experiences here. This is an overview of these experiences. I'm aware I don't have the time to go through all of these today. Can I suggest that I should go this one, through this one and this one, and ask the buyer, would you like to hear about another one? So you're bringing them into the conversation. You'll notice, and again, I'll ask you to read this in your own time, for my fictional business here, I've also mentioned that there's an elevator that's fully accessible that allows all customers maybe to reach a high level. Or for example here, our menus are available in large print, Braille, French, German and Italian. So I'm showing the buyer how my business is accessible to people who may have diverse needs. And again, I would suggest that you should bring this into conversation where relevant. So like I said there earlier, you may be a business that has lots of different experiences. So be aware that you may not be able to speak about each one of those. So you'll need to create an overview and a drill down. You do not have to say everything. That's really important. It is about enlightening, connecting with, and delighting that buyer. And once you do that, you will prompt them to explore more, maybe at a later stage and at a time after meet the buyer. Step 5 and 6, establish if there's an opportunity. So before that buyer leaves your table, maybe you'll be able to read it through how they're engaging with you. You should say something like, listen, thank you so much for listening to what I've had to say today. Can I just ask, do you feel there will be an opportunity for us to work together? I would love that. And I'll have my little notebook beside me. And each time I'll know for the appointment whether that was a yes, no, or a maybe opportunity. In other words, I'm going to establish the opportunity to get a future booking. And then my follow-up, which I'll take you through in a moment, will be dependent upon that reply, whether it's a yes, no, or maybe opportunity. But I would always ask the buyer, listen, can I just ask, when I send you follow-up information, when would be a convenient time for you? Because perhaps they're traveling on to another destination after meet the buyer, and they might tell you, listen, mid-April would be great for me, because I'd be trying to find a date where my information arrives into the inbox of that buyer, perhaps via email, at a time that's convenient for them. So key considerations when in all of our conversations with the buyers is that we must create trust, we must be concise and do not overwhelm, we should give live examples, make it really immersive for them. We should remember local, we should listen to the buyer, please don't speak at them, have a meaningful conversation with them. We should paint a picture with words and images. We should show our sustainable and regenerative tourism ethos in all buyer appointments. And if there's any information that's relevant for accessibility or social inclusion that enables the buyer to make an informed decision, that it's really important that you would enlighten the buyer in that regard too. And we've shown you some examples of how you might do that earlier. Really importantly, you need to align your verbal pitch with your presentation. So I gave you tips there earlier about how to create your presentation. And I would suggest then that at your computer, you might take a chart using the template that I've shown you here. And for each slide or image number that you're using, that you might, note the number, note the purpose of that particular slide or image, and then bullet point out the content like I've shown you here. And you can use this little tool to prepare then your verbal pitch for Meet the Buyer. And then afterwards, practice aligning what you're going to say with what you're showing in your visual presentation. Now we'll take a quick look at how to follow up. We've already established during the verbal pitch, during that lovely professional and friendly conversation with the buyer, you're going to have established what the opportunity is because you're going to have asked the question. So you will know if it's a no opportunity with low potential, a maybe opportunity with medium potential, or a yes opportunity with high potential. How we follow up is dependent on the response to that question. I would suggest you follow up with all buyers, whether it's a low, medium, or high opportunity. Again, I'm going to ask you to read this in your own time, but I've given you a suggested text in the case of a no opportunity. So I'd say the reply needs to be professional and polite. Something like, "Dear Johan, it was lovely to meet you at Meet the Buyer. It's a pity there doesn't seem to be an opportunity to work together at present. However, let's keep in contact and perhaps an opportunity might arise at some time in the future. If I can ever assist you, please do not hesitate to let me know." Professional and friendly. If we look at a medium opportunity, you can, again, address that. "I know you mentioned that you were uncertain about how and when we will get to work together in the future. However, I am really hoping that an opportunity will arise. I'm thereby enclosing our information as agreed. If you need anything further, please do not hesitate to let me know. I'm here to help if you ever need anything." So in this case, we want to keep it professional, polite, and upbeat. And again, for a yes opportunity, definitely professional, polite, and upbeat. Something like, "Dear Johan, it was lovely to meet you at Meet the Buyer, and I was delighted to hear that you feel we will soon have an opportunity to work together. I enclose our information as agreed. If you need anything further, please do not hesitate to let me know. I'll call you in a couple of days to make sure you have everything you require." So they're just some suggested texts there for follow-up, and you can adapt those based on how you would use language yourself, but keep the same essence, professional and friendly. In terms of what you would use for follow-up, you need communications that summarize what your business does and what you offer. That's the first thing. Please only send information with retail pricing, please. No buyer pricing needed here, just your retail pricing. Number two, you could send a copy of your presentation. For example, if it was a PowerPoint, send it in a PDF version so that the buyer has that. And of course, your contact details will be on that. And make sure your contact details are clear. So I would write an email like that and attach the relevant content. It is really important to say that the function of Meet the Buyer is to establish if there's an opportunity to engage in a partnership. So it is really unlikely that straight after our first meeting at Meet the Buyer, we would need to engage in rates or in terms and conditions. But of course, if you're going to engage in a future partnership with a professional travel buyer for which special trade rates and terms and conditions are required, you would need to have the know-how to engage in that regard. So if you've joined us here this morning and that's really new to you, don't worry about it, because at Meet the Buyer, the focus, as I said, is on the presentation, the verbal pitch, and the follow-up. If you feel you're not skilled in the pricing element, just liaise with your colleagues in Tourism Northern Ireland and let them know that you need support in that regard. In terms of follow-up, it's really important to understand the following. The international travel buyer that you meet at Meet the Buyer may work in partnership with another tour operator or DMC, for example, in Ireland or in Great Britain. In this case, we would send our content, our communications about what we offer with retail pricing to the international travel partner. We would also ask them during our conversation at Meet the Buyer, so can I just ask, do you work directly with companies like ours, or do you work with another travel partner? They may say that they work, for example, with a tour operator in Ireland. If they say that, I would ask them the name of that tour operator, and I would also follow up with that tour operator after the Meet the Buyer event. So to be clear, to avoid any errors, the only information that we ever send if there's pricing on it is retail pricing. If you ask the question of the international travel buyer, can I ask, do you work directly? So the buyer has said they're interested in your experiences. Do you work directly with businesses like ours, or do you happen to work with another travel partner? So if they say they work with another travel partner, you need to get to know the name of that partner, and ultimately the bookings would come through that partner. That's a really important thing to understand. So I may be an Ireland-based or Great Britain-based, for example, tour operator, and my clients may actually be those international travel companies, and I will look after their customer needs. In other words, for everything that international travel buyer needs, they might come to me. So in which case, all the bookings will be done with the Ireland or the Great Britain-based tour operator. They could come from somewhere else too. When you ask the question, so the buyer is interested, can I ask, do you work directly with companies like mine, or do you work with another travel buyer? The international travel partner may very well say, no, actually, we just work directly with businesses like yours, in which case all of the content I would just send to them. And if there was ever need to engage in buyer pricing or contracting in the future, I would do that directly with them. So this is a really important piece to understand. This is why we'd recommend at Meet the Buyer that you lean on your retail price point to give an indication of your pricing. So finally, just two last points before we wrap up today's session. So we said the purpose of Meet the Buyer, the key things are presentation, verbal pitch, follow up. Tier 2 is nurturing the lead. Maybe in the future, if there's a partnership opportunity, engaging in trade rates, what we call B2B rates, and trade contracting. So tier 2, you don't have to worry about that for now. If it's something you don't fully understand, you'll have time to wrap your head around that after Meet the Buyer. For now, focus on winning the opportunity with that international travel partner. Just if we were to think down the line in terms of negotiation, a little tip that you may need to be aware of. So the reality is that in all negotiations, just say the buyer comes back and asks, do you offer a trade price? You need to stay just all the time. You have another conversation, professional and friendly. You understand your price point and why it's charged at that price point. And the objective of that negotiation would be to reach a conclusion. I do need to really emphasize that in some cases, the professional travel buyer may not ask for a trade price at all. And thereby, we always say that the golden rule is never just volunteer a discount. So just present your retail pricing and what that pricing includes. So that's just a tip, maybe if we look forward to the future based on second tier priorities, which might be negotiation. And again, for those of you joining this morning, again, second tier priority, pricing and contracting, what you need to be aware of. So golden rule, as I said there a moment ago, never volunteer a discount. You may need to be aware, if you engage in a partnership with a professional travel buyer, of how to engage in net or trade pricing, B2B, or B2B commissionable pricing. So again, if this is something that you do not understand, I would suggest you need further support in that regard. And you could begin maybe after Meet the Buyer at taking a look at the supports that are on Tourism Northern Ireland's website. And I've given an example of this here this morning. And so my friends, that's it. We're coming up to the end of today's session. I'm going to ask my friends from Tourism Northern Ireland to rejoin me now and just to ask if there are any questions before we wrap up this morning. Hi, Patricia.
Okay, thank you so much, Julie. Also to Nikki for kicking us off this morning. Lots and lots of really useful information to absorb there. So I think hopefully something for everyone who's joining us here this morning. I'm Patricia Kingston. I'm the Corporate Events Officer at Tourism NI. So I'll be facilitating our Q&A session today. And shortly we'll be posing all your questions to Julie and Nikki and Dawn from the Business Solutions team as well. So if you do have a question and you haven't yet shared it in the chat box, go ahead and pop it in there now and we will pick up as many as we can this morning. So just before we get stuck into your questions, we'll do a couple of very quick polls just to get a feel for how you found the session so far. Anyone that's been on our webinars before will be used to these by now. So the first one is, how would you rate today's session in terms of overall satisfaction? So that's with 5 being extremely satisfied, so on a scale of 1 to 5. I'll just give you a moment to complete that. Okay, our second one this morning is, can you please rate today's session in terms of content and relevance to your business? So again, that's on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being not relevant at all and 5 being extremely relevant. Great stuff, thank you. And our final one is just a very simple yes or no. So do you plan to take any action as a direct result of what you've heard so far today? So yes or no. Okay, thank you so much. And it really is a great help for us to get your responses there. And it's my pleasure now to welcome back our expert speaker, Julie O'Brien, and alongside Tourism NI Business Solutions Manager, Nikki Patterson, and welcoming along Dawn Corrigan, who, as Nikki mentioned, leads on Meet the Buyer in the Business Solutions team. So knows everything about everything when it comes to Meet the Buyer. So let's get stuck into some of your questions now. So the good news is we did have a few questions submitted that actually have been answered and picked up as Julie went along in the presentation. So so that's brilliant. So some of your queries may have been picked up already, and we'll have just a few more to pick up at this stage. So Dawn, I might come to you first, actually, if you don't mind, and just wondering for those who are brand new in particular, some people were wondering on advice on setting up the advanced meetings on Converve, and if you have any tips on that if they're really new to the system.
Okay, yep, all of the tour operators profiles are on the system there. So if you are looking at your dashboard on Converve, there is a button on the top left hand side called Agenda. So you click into that and that essentially will give you your appointment schedule. So you can see then at every appointment time who is available to meet. And when you click into them, it'll give you a little synopsis of who they are and what type of business they want to meet with. So that really is the best way. And as Judy said earlier, the My Match function on there is a really useful tool as well. It automatically matches you up with the tour operators based on the information that you've put into your profile. So the more information you can put in, the more information that we will get out. So
yeah, brilliant. That actually leads me on really nicely to the next question we've got through. Someone was wondering, once you do find a match using that, is it best to just go ahead and schedule a meeting, or should you send like an introductory message first? I don't know, Julie or Dawn, what you would recommend there.
Do you want to jump in there, Dawn?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. A lot of the tour operators, especially the bigger ones, their schedules will fill up very, very quickly. So my advice would be to go ahead, schedule the meeting. If the operator really doesn't want to meet you or doesn't think you're a match, they can decline your meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, good advice. And I suppose the messaging system is a good tool for creating a connection with that buyer. So let's just say Dawn is a buyer, she's connected with me on a meeting. I would definitely reach out to Dawn and say, oh, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to meeting you on whatever date. So again, can be a really nice first initial point of contact.
Yeah. And Julie, what happens if you don't manage to schedule a meeting with a buyer you're really keen to engage with? I know John mentioned, some of the kind of big guys, or the bigger names that people are more familiar with, they might book up very quickly. So would you have any advice on that if you don't manage to get an actual meeting slot with some of these people?
Yeah, so the very good advice is, and Dawn, you might jump in if you have any other points on that, but it's not to be disappointed actually, because at Meet the Buyer, there are lots of social occasions. So I'm going to beg everyone joining us here this morning, don't huddle in a corner with your friends from up the road. That's not what Meet the Buyer is about. You can do that afterwards. Use, please, all of the tea coffees and the lunch breaks to connect with other buyers. There are all additional opportunities, and sometimes can be even more worthwhile than the appointments when we connect over a cup of coffee. If you haven't managed to meet a buyer, like Dawn said, the messaging appointment system as well, you can put a note in there to say, listen, Dawn, I was disappointed we didn't manage to get a coffee, but an appointment, but would you be free to meet for a coffee at whatever time on whatever day?
Yeah, brilliant. That's great. Now, someone was actually wondering, and a few people might actually be wondering this, can you bring sample food for them to try? Dawn, would you be able to advise on that at all?
Absolutely. The more immersive the experience that you can provide when you're at the workshop, the better, really. So kind of the general golden rule is, if it fits on top of your table, absolutely bring it along. You can give it out at your meetings, although there won't be areas to give out sample food outside of your meeting desk. So if it fits on the desk, absolutely bring it along.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. I suppose it's just bringing whatever you have to offer to life in the best way possible, and that's the advantage of the industry having their set desk that they're sitting at, as opposed to being the ones who are moving around. So you can almost set out your stall nicely, but just within the limitations of that desk. That's perfect. Julie, we have one for you here. I know obviously you said you do your research, and you want to make sure that you're tailoring your pitch to each person that you're having the meeting with. But the question here is that I assume you wouldn't vary your PowerPoint presentation for each appointment, but just vary your verbal pitch each time as necessary, or would you recommend that there are actually tailored visuals as well?
No, I think it's enough to create one PowerPoint presentation. Within that presentation, it can be very useful to create a summary slide, if it's PowerPoint, or a summary image with all of your experiences. So let's just say, for example, activity providers might have a lot of experiences. So rather than writing every single one, they could go, land-based experiences, give an example, water-based experiences or whatever, and that will hone the buyer in. And then that slide, we can use it as a talking point then for drilling down into an experience that maybe the buyer is particularly interested in hearing about. So no, absolutely not. One presentation is enough for anyone to construct, and with the verbal pitch accordingly. I would like to bring to your attention, though, in some cases, the buyer might disrupt how you're presenting, with questions, because they're interested. So please be aware that they might not allow you to get from slide, say, 1 to 8 in the order that you'd like. You may be going back or forward, and that's totally fine. So just be prepared for that. Every time, professional, friendly, you're having a conversation. So that's the important thing to remember.
Yeah, very good advice as well. And we have someone who's wondering what's the way to publicize experiences inclusivity, if that's an asset that you have. Would you have any advice on that, Julie, at all?
Yeah, so social inclusion, accessibility, really important points. So let's just say I'm a business that really champions that. I will probably create a summary slide that shows the buyer, allows the buyer to gain an insight into that. But equally as important, maybe for example, I'm a walking guide and I'm actually going through areas that are not easily accessible for people who have lower mobility. I might need to tell the buyer that, because my job is to arm them with the information that allows them to make the right decision for their customers. So one is as important as the other. The aim is to arm the buyer with the information that allows them to make the right choices.
Yeah, fabulous. We have someone here who's wondering if they are able to use the Embrace a Giant Spirit font within their presentation. So the content pool that Julie mentioned earlier, there's lots of Embrace a Giant Spirit assets on there that you can download and use that are public for you to use. So if you aren't already signed up for that content pool, do be sure to do that, and you can find details on that on tourismni.com as well. So that's a really good question, and absolutely make sure you've got that sort of Embrace a Giant Spirit messaging in throughout whatever you're presenting on the day. That's brilliant. And we've had such a great turnout this morning, so thank you so much to everyone for joining us. Thank you for your questions today. I don't know, Nikki, if you've anything else specifically you'd like to add before we finish up?
No, not at all. Just to say good luck to everyone, and we are really excited for the 9th and 10th of April, and we'll look forward to seeing you all there. And if there's anything you need in the meantime, just reach out to us here at the Business Solutions team. And thank you so much, Julie, for your presentation. It was wonderful and just so helpful and in-depth as usual. And thank you, Dawn and Patricia.
Yeah, thank you so much. We will aim to get a recording for today up online to watch as soon as possible. Because we know obviously Meet the Bar is coming towards us swiftly. So if you do want to watch back again, we'll also have a copy of all of Julie's slides as well. So anyone that's registered today will send you an email directly with a link to those once they're ready. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this morning. Thank you again, also obviously to Julie, Nikki and Dawn, and also to Barry and the Eventful team in the background, keeping all the technology working for us behind the scenes today. And thank you so much, everyone who's joined us here. We can't wait, as Nikki said, to see you at Meet the Buyer in April. And I can't wait to see you all in action, enlightening and connecting with and delighting our buyers and following all Julie's advice. So we'll see you in a few weeks' time. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.